Look at that road going uphill. Who's climbing there? Look at that road. Crazy. I'm on the Jolon road that leads normally to the town Jolon, which is known just for the mission number 3, Mission San Antonio, built by Junipero Serra and Franciscans. So I'm going to visit the mission, but I want to tell you about the town named Jolon. It's spelled Spanish, Jolon. There's a song that I heard from Rambling Jack Elliott, who once said that in some concert, and there's a YouTube video from that concert when he explains that he visited the lady that wrote the lyrics, and he said, I heard her version, but this is my version that I learned from some other guy in North Carolina. He gives the names there, I don't remember. The lady that wrote the song, she lived in the Big Sur, which is only like maybe 40 miles from here. So it's from this area. There's also another geographic term used here, the barranca, which is just some mountains there, and there's a barranca trail that leads through some California State National Park. Highway 101, and we are on intersection of the Jolon and Mission Road. Mission Road leads to San Antonio Mission, and this way, just a few hundred feet, there's a church down there, and that's the spot where the town Jolon should be, but it doesn't exist. There's nothing except the church. That's all. Nothing exists anymore. But this is the place where the famous card game happened, and I'm gonna tell you about it. Lyrics for the South Coast were written in 1926 by Lillian Ross, and she was a writer, and she and her husband Harry Ross, the sculptor, they lived in a Big Sur. They were impressed with Big Sur area, and they just loved it so much, explored, and she came up to idea and the story about the young Spanish man Longheno de Castro and his love story. I'm pretty sure I'm in the area where the card game happened. The song originally was about the Monterey coast, which is normally north of Big Sur, but later Lillian changed it to South Coast. Legend is that Lillian, in her walks around Big Sur area, found the old house empty. There's just a stone fireplace and the baby cradle that had carved the words Juan Jaro de Castro. So this haunted her, and she started exploring and creating this beautiful poem. Changed the name to Longheno de Castro. Lillian later in 1941 wrote a novel, The Stranger in the Big Sur. So let's go to the story about the card game. So there was a card game in Jolon, somewhere around here, and young Longheno de Castro played against half-breed named Juan. Somewhere they used the word outlaw, somewhere like Jack Elliott uses the word hombre. They played and Longheno was killing him. He took all his money, and then in original text the one said, let's play for all, your homestead and all that money, and I stake my daughter Dawn. And she was beautiful. And Longheno went for it. So here's the poem. The original version written by Lillian had 16 verses, I like the song and the lyrics, and if my accent doesn't bother you, here we go. My name is Longeno de Castro. My father was Spanish grandee, but I won my wife in a card game. To hell with the lords or the sea. I played in a card game at Jolon. I played with a hombre named Juan, and after I'd taken his money, I staked all against his daughter Dawn. I picked up an ace. I had won her. My heart was down in my feet. Jumped up to my throat in a hurry, like a young summer's day, she was sweet. He opened the door of the kitchen and called the girl out with a curse, saying, "Take her, goddamn her, you won her, and she's yours now for better or worse." Her arms had tightened around me, and we rode down the hills to the south. Not a word did I hear from her that day, nor a kiss from her pretty little mouth. But that was a gay, happy winter. We carved on a cradle of pine by the fire in that little shanty, and I sang with that gay wife of mine. That night I got hurt in the landslide, crushed hip and twice broken bone. She saddled her pony fast like lightning and rode off to doctor in Jolon. The lion screamed in the barranca. Buck, he bolted and fell on his side. My young wife lay dead in the moonlight. My heart died that night with my bride. Well, the South Coast is wild coast and lonely. You might win a game in Jolon, but the lion still rules the barranca, and the man there is always alone. It gets me every time. He lost his bride and the child. And that's the story that Lillian picked up from that old broken house that where she found just the fireplace and the cradle with card name into it. Please listen to Jack Elliott's song. You're gonna love it. Jack Elliott shortened the poem and didn't use all lyrics, but here's a part that is missing, and that's really, really good. So there was some landslide that crushed his leg and the hip. She saddled the horse and rode off to Jolon. So they must live somewhere up there in that mountain, in that shanty. She rode to Jolon for a doctor. The lion screamed. The horse got scared, fell down, and she died. They buried her out in the orchard. They carried me down to Jolon. I've lost my Chiquita, my Nino. I'm old broken man, all alone. The cabin still stands on a hillside. Its doors open to the wind, but the cradle and my heart are empty. I'll never go there again. That's that. Well, good morning. Little update on the story. I Googled it. I was confused that there's no Jolon town. And turns out Google knows everything. So they said that all this land around was bought by military. And that's what actually I saw. The only thing that remains like civilized world, unmilitarized zone, is the church. And somewhere around the corner there should be the store that was historically there. Now I have another thought, and we're gonna go see that, but I have another random thought. I was thinking about the lyrics of the song, and when Longeno pulled that ace and won the girl, Father Juan opened the kitchen door and called her out. This means that they were playing in his house. I never thought about that. I always assumed it's some saloon or some big store, you know, in old days there's a store and saloon together, whatever. Because Longeno was writing every Friday in original lyrics, you can find that. It's not in Jack Elliott's version. In original lyrics said every Friday he rides 40 miles, and that's a whole day ride to come for supplies. So that's why he was actually, I think he was coming also for the girl. So he went to visit that Juan, and he's afraid to say, sir, I like your daughter, can I marry her? So somehow he got lucky, and the Juan by himself offered the daughter in a card game. Lojano won, got happy, but not for a long time, maybe just 6 months. Like I said, I think Juan lived somewhere around here. Lojano was coming from the south 40 miles to Jolon, probably for supplies and to see the girl because she was beautiful. I'm gonna go now trace that place where the store is, and there's some sign talking about the history of Jolon. Also, if you Google it, you can find that on Wikipedia they say that Jolon is mentioned in the song South Coast, and also is the location of a happening in John Steinbeck's novel To God Unknown, which is my favorite of all time, #1 of all time for me. Check it out, John Steinbeck, the best American writer. So here's the St. Luke's Church, and just around the corner, Lockwood Jolon Road, that's the store. There's a St. Luke's Church, and just across the road there's a Captain Tidball's store. It's a historic place built in 1868, and that's the location when Lojano de Castro was coming for the supplies. So that means that somewhere in these hills around, Outlaw One lived with his daughter Dawn. That's the location of the card game in Jolon. So here's the history. The town of Jolon, established in 1860s to meet the needs of the people living in the area. Later, by the completion of Pacific Railroad, there was no need for this location, and King City started growing a little bit east from here. Then William Hearst bought the town in 1920s, and 20 years later, 1940, he sold it to military. And that's why military is the owner of this all land around.